Okay. I can jump right in now on the 2024 amendments piece that we're going to talk about today. Is the first one is, or the only one we're going to address today is the Subpart I Q&A, which we'd hoped would have been out by now, but we did have to backtrack a little bit, as some of you who've been participating in this process are aware. We reached out to the LSPA with an advanced copy of the Q&A. They reached back to us, and we ended up having a meeting with both of them on July 18th, and then followed up with National Grid, who had some of the same concerns, on July 19th. Without digging too much into the weeds here, because this conversation can go on for hours, the two main themes were to clarify the coal tar waste deposit definition and requirements, what exactly what visible coal tar waste deposit is, and what is required to characterize it and assess it. And then the second big piece we dug into was clarifying exposure point concentration determinations. As far as the coal tar waste deposit definitions and requirements, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about visible coal tar waste deposit. What is it? How much does have to be visible, and what does visible even mean before you are subject to the MCP requirements for coal tar? And basically, without repeating the entire long definition, which is in the Q&A, but the intent is that the DEP's focus is not the fringe impacts that can otherwise be characterized with soil sampling, but the main concern is significant waste deposits. So if there's small flecks of coal tar interspersed within the soil, maybe perhaps it could be characterized and analyzed as soil. As most people are aware, that if it's pure coal tar or heavily coal tar composed of coal tar, it does mess up lab equipment, and it's hard to analyze directly. And for that reason, we do accept literature values for coal tar contamination levels. As far as clarifying exposure point concentrations, we spent a lot of time talking about the use of when old judgmental data, which there's tons of it still out there, might be used and integrated into the determination of an exposure point concentration. And it's also it's based on the OHM that's known to be present for the feasibility of remediating the coal tar. A couple other random items that we've talked about is that things like, we're clarifying the fact that coal tar remediation doesn't necessarily have to be just an engineered barrier or removal, and that in some circumstances with DRD approval, in situ stabilization is and has been used and is acceptable. We also talked about how DNAPL emanating from coal tar could be characterized using the NAPL provisions of the MCP, assuming it exists as a liquid 24/7 under ambient conditions, which in most cases that does not happen. Usually it's solid or semi-solid, but if it is present as a liquid all the time, it can be characterized as a NAPL under those provisions as well. Right now, we're in the process of putting everything back together from our meeting notes with the LSPA and National Grid, and rewriting the Q&A, and we'll be sharing it with internally with our DRDs in the next few days or few weeks, and we hope to have that posted by the next time we meet for office hours. So that's it for the Subpart I Q&A for now. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of time to dig into the weeds in this meeting, but if you have questions, please let me know.
Yeah, and before we jump into the soils, Ken, I just want to thank LSPA and the National Grid folks for reaching out to MassDEP, and we always welcome comments, questions, and thoughtful commentary. So whenever we have an area that warrants a little bit more conversation, I just want to tell you that Bureau of Wayside Cleanup pledges to ensure that there is that engagement. And certainly on this one, it was really a positive engagement, and it was engagement that has led to further clarification, not just for ourselves now at this moment, but also for future generations of licensed site professionals and individuals that are going out in the field and really trying to discern what is visible coal tar. So I thought This was great. And also having the robust discussion regarding the exposure point concentrations, that really added a lot of value. So thank you again to everybody who took the time and energy and effort to participate. So on to soils reuse. I'm just going to very quickly tee it off by way of saying that this is a very important policy area that it's just not site cleanup, coming out with a policy and just finalizing a policy and uploading a policy onto the web. This is a policy that basically it's being vetted across, up, down, given that it affects directly and it's applicable specifically to 21E sites and as it pertains to the importation of soils at 21E sites. So as a result, we're also in deep consultation with environmental justice staff at DEP. Obviously, the Office of General Counsel, Luke Rogers, has been instrumental in lifting this effort as well. And likewise, working with all the regional directors in the various 4 regional offices, deputy regional directors, and ultimately briefing the commissioner's office. So it's not a light lift to ensure that we have a policy that resonates and it's a just policy with a very strong eye on public involvement and environmental justice. So therefore, this is why it's taking a little bit longer. But again, we are working very expeditiously to ensure that we have a document that will be available for weigh in and comment. So Ken, if you can give us a little bit more, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the quick summary, but yeah, just by way of emphasis, the policy we're looking at is specifically addressing the reuse of contaminated soils from one 21E site at another 21E site. And
Right.
as Ms. said, this has reached the commissioner level and high level folks at DEP. And it's been ongoing all summer. We've been meeting every week and discussing this because there's lots of, you can imagine, there are lots of technical, regulatory, and legal issues that impact this. And so we're still in the process of going through the nuances of what all those things might mean with regard to our regulations and even the law. One thing to keep in mind before we get lost in it is that there's 2 major components to the whole policy. One is that it's predicated on the achievement of a permanent solution at the receiving site. So that means that you've completed your phase 2 and you have a good characterization of what's there, and you've completed your phase 3 and have justified that this soil reuse will lead to the achievement of no significant risk and a permanent solution. And then the second major element of this is public involvement. Obviously, since we're talking about large scale operations, probably on the order of 500,000 cubic yards, this will require and involve public participation and approvals for this to go forward. Other acceptance criteria, we've been digging into the weeds on that. And Paul's been helping us a lot with that, obviously. And some of those specifics where we can include them in the policy, it'll be in an appendices. Others, some site-specific type things might show up in the soil management plan or even in the ACO, and that could include things like AULs, FAMs, sampling and monitoring requirements, even levels of pH and traffic and fugitive dust. What we're hoping for, our timing and our plan is that we will be wrapping up our internal meetings with the commissioner's office and those folks and the OGC and everyone else. And we anticipate what we would like to do is have a complete draft ready for the external world's review sometime this fall. And I'm hesitant to put a time frame on that because I know this is very complicated and it really involves a lot of moving pieces. But that's our goal, is to have something in front of you this fall. So that's all I had.
Thank you so much, Ken, and for your leadership on this one.